Hello. We've been rehearsing a whole lot of basic conversational skills. From this unit onwards, this module onwards rather, we're going to move on to more advanced activities such as presentations, how to appear and how to participate in meetings, how to appear in an interview and so on. And we begin with how to make a presentation, how to make killer presentations, or what makes a presentation click. You yourself must have noticed that whenever somebody makes a presentation, it's not the content, but it's the way a person makes a presentation that makes you sit up and listen or make you yawn. It happens to me all the time. I have this celebrity writer friend who you might have watched recently on television, but whenever we go to make a talk or presentation, before the talk ends, he makes such an impact. He dresses in a kurta, so he appears like a guru, and by the end of the presentation, and he makes such an impactful presentation that before the presentation is over, people are smiling at each other, nodding at each other, and before the talk is over, he gets invited to another talk. And here I am, waiting to be invited, waiting to be noticed. Doesn't happen because my friend has been making presentations since he was an 18-year-old, and he's mastered the skill of making presentations. So we'll begin with what happens to us when we are asked to make a presentation. Most of us focus on what we are going to say. Most of us want to impress people. So we decide on what am I going to say in my presentation, how do I pack in a lot of information, how do I seem intelligent, how do I show that I have done my homework. The problem is precisely that. It's not what you put in a presentation, but many other factors that make a presentation. So the what in a presentation really depends on why you're making a presentation, where you're making a presentation, who, the why, the where, when. That decides what goes into the presentation. So first of all, you need to find out why am I making a presentation. You need to lay down the objectives of your presentation. Of course, it will vary depending on the kind of presentation you're making, but you need to lay down your objectives very clearly, the general objectives as well as the particular objectives. So your general objective need not be just, we never have a single objective. Your objective could be to inform, it could be to arouse interest, it could be to motivate, could be to make recommendations, to persuade or sell, to inspire action, evaluate, interpret or clarify, and it goes on to infinity because you might have different reasons for making presentations. Now, as students, of course, we are asked to make only informative presentations. We are supposed to show what kind of information we have collected, and we have to present that information as effectively as possible to experts. But later in life, in your professional life, you will be making a whole lot of presentation which will require you to have any of these or any other infinite objectives. But at the same time, from a general objective, it's not just enough to say that my objective is to persuade. You have to have a very particular objective. Persuade people to do what? To persuade the company that hiring a new sales executive during the current financial year will result in increased sales. So you have to write down the objectives of why you're making a presentation. What is your particular objective? Because only then you can get the results you want. The second thing that you need to take into consideration is who is your audience? Who are you making this presentation to? And in this you need to know what does your audience know, what does your audience need to know, what do they want to know. Take for instance, you might have a vague idea about what your audience knows, but it may not be the same as what they need to know, or you think that they need to know something, but it is not necessarily what they want to know. In my English class, I strongly feel that my students need to learn, improve their vocabulary, and if I put them through some good rich text, they will be able to do it. But my students are not interested. They go to sleep if I start doing what I think they need to know. Instead, they want to know, how do I improve my communication skills? How would reading Gabriel Garcia Marquez help me to improve my professional communication? So I need to know, what do they want to know? It's just not enough for me to decide what they need to know. What is your audience's language? Now, if you are a computer scientist and you are explaining what computers are to somebody who doesn't understand your technical terms like hardware and software and how many GBs and stuff like that, would people listen to a presentation like that? Suppose you're making a presentation to lay persons. No. So you need to know your audience's language. By language, we don't mean the language of the region, but what kind of, do they need an expert language, do they need an informal language, depending on their age, their education level, their familiarity with the subject you are speaking about. You need to cater, you need to tailor your language to the to fit the audience's language. Now, what are your audience's interests? That's equally important. What are your audience's interests? You want them to talk about soccer, and they are interested in cricket. So you need to, suppose you're using all your analogies from soccer, it's not going to cut any ice with them, because they are more familiar with, they are fans of cricket, and if you were to use terms from there, maybe you will be able to vibe better with them. What do you want your audience to know? Now, you might have that as your agenda also. What do you want them to know? So suppose you find that you're creating a campaign about polluting the waters of a river, and you are talking to an audience who are wasteful in the use of water, or the way they release effluents into the river. So what perhaps you need to apprise them of what is happening, say what is happening to the Bellandur lake in Bangalore, what happened to the lake because of the effluents being released or the damage that is being to do. So sometimes you want the audience to act on that, and in order to do that, you need to inform them what you know. You and the audience, know your attitude towards the audience. Now, that's very important. What is your attitude towards the audience? Are you very often, we who are in the academic profession, we used to talking down, because most of the time we're talking to students, and the students we feel do not know as much as we do. So usually we adopt a very patronizing, very superior attitude, and as if we are dealing with people who don't know. Now, that if we use that kind of attitude when we are talking to our peers or our equals, that would be very annoying. The tone would be very annoying to the audience. Know the audience's requirement of you. What does the audience want of you? That's equally important. Now, I think most of us have this problem, that whenever we go to make a presentation, we want to know what kind of impact we have made. We don't think of what are the results we want. We want to inform our audience, we want to persuade our audience. We don't want to impress them with the knowledge. So you decide what you want them to do. Do you want them to act on what you have said, even if you are not very impressive? So suppose you speak in Queen's English, and your audience do not understand Queen's English, or they feel they feel distant from you because you're speaking Queen's English. Now, instead of that, if you were to speak their language and explain to them what you're saying in their language, maybe you win their, you earn their trust, you strike a rapport with them, and probably they are more likely to listen to you rather than if you are standoffish and they think that you're not one of them. So, what do they want? Are they agreeable or result oriented or busy audience? Are they hostile or analysis oriented audience? I'm sure we've all faced this. Whenever we have an audience who are friendly towards us, who are agreeable or who are result oriented, we go with a very positive mindset. We know that they are going to be receptive to our ideas. Even if they are busy, they will be receptive. But when we think that the audience are hostile, that we are going to encounter opposition from them, whatever you say, and mind you, it happens to all of us, because presentations, meetings, interviews in real life are not ideal scenarios. They are always hidden agendas. So, there is a possibility that the audience is hostile. They are not inclined to agree with, they come with that attitude, or they don't want you to make a good presentation. So, they deliberately interrupt you, or they do something so that your presentation doesn't work. What do? It's easy to handle an audience who's neutral or friendly. Don't you find yourself doing it in a presentation? Our students have mastered this game. They plant their friends in the audience and they say, whenever I'm looking, I'll look at you and you'll smile at me and you'll nod. And the friends are supposed to do that. They're supposed to smile, nod, look at them very encouragingly, so that they don't lose their nerve. So, you have to analyze the audience to see what kind of, it's better to know beforehand what kind of audience you're likely to have. What baggage do they bring? Now, we talk about their needs, their attitude, their background, their style, their clout. This is the baggage. These are the 5 things we look at. The most important thing is, okay, you're making a presentation, you're a great speaker, but why should someone come and waste his or her time? Why should they come and attend your talk? Because ultimately people want to know what's in it for me. So, good speakers know instinctively that if I can find out what they need, if I can promise them something which is going to help them, immediately this audience are going to sit up. So, in my classroom, if I say I'm going to tell you something which will help you in the NSEM exam paper, immediately I find all the sleepers in the back row have woken up. People have stopped yawning, they're sitting up in the chairs, they're sitting ready to make notes. But in real life, we say, okay, I'm going to teach you a trick how to make $1 million or become a crorepati, and people will immediately, because that incentive usually works for people, and people say, yes, okay, let's listen to him or her and see what tricks we can follow. So, now the what goes into the presentation is really determined by the why and the who. So, this is something I should have begun with, is that when we think of presentations, we normally think that people just come and make a presentation, and some are naturally good, some are naturally bad. It's not so. Presentations, 99% of the presentation, only 1% of your presentation is the presentation proper. The rest of the 99%, like success, is perspiration. It's all the planning, it's all the hard work you put into the presentation. So, the what goes into is determined by the why and the who. Experts suggest this strategy that you develop a position, action and benefit. So, you need to take a position, whatever topic you are presenting on or you are giving a talk on. Most of us just talk about that topic. We summarize whatever information we have related to that topic. That's not enough. It's very important that you take a standpoint. You identify a central argument. You take a stance and state your central argument. So, what is your position towards that? Okay. So, even if it is a controversial topic like capital punishment, what is your position on that? You feel that yes, people who commit even the most heinous crimes, they should be punished, but I am opposed to capital punishment because it is taking off human lives. So, or you can justify, yes, the most heinous of crimes deserve the most painful or the worst of punishments, which is capital punishments. We do not like doing it, but we need to do it sometimes. So, you must take a stance. Then what is the action? What do you want as a result of that? Maybe you are making a speech where you are appealing against reservations in the educational institutions. So, you feel that reservations are not going to help people to come up to the level of the general category people, students. So, this is the action. You want the policy makers to take note and say that this argument that I make or my persuasive skills will actually help the policy makers to make a decision based on what I am saying. And what is the benefit? So, suppose in IIT or in India, I am making a suggestion and I say what is the benefit of it? It will prevent, it will bring peace, it will prevent conflict or hostility between different classes or different castes and so on, if we extend reservation, or if we do not extend reservation, it is not going to help. So, you also have to think of the benefit. Now, getting your act together, that is the next stage. You have decided on your main argument, what is going to be your main argument. You are going to decide on what action people want to take and what benefit is going to bring them. Now, you move on to capturing your ideas. Now, what happens to you when you are asked to make a presentation? Usually, we all do a last minute marathon. The night before, we sit up all night and we decide, okay, I am going to now put together my presentation. But that is not how a presentation ideally should be prepared, because you might get ideas any time. Therefore, you must capture the idea that comes to you. Maybe you are talking to your friend over a cup of tea in the office canteen, or you are driving home and you notice something. So, an idea can come to you anyway, and wherever the idea comes to you, like Einstein got his idea, right. So, wherever you are, whichever place you are, and capture that idea, put it down, note it down. In olden days, we used to note it down on a card, on an index card. Today, we have technologies. You can note it down on your PC, you can note it down on your cell phone, you can note it down wherever you want, that this is the idea I am going to use in my presentation. Now, the next thing is to brainstorm. What is brainstorming? Everyone knows what the term brainstorming is. Whenever people get together and think of different ideas about something, put together, just wildly throw ideas and think about it without coming to any decision, that is brainstorming. That is how we understand it. Now, how do we use brainstorming in making presentations? In making presentations, brainstorming means that do not try to work in a structured, coherent manner from the very beginning. Instead of that, use the process of free thinking. Do not let structuring inhibit your thinking. Whatever idea comes to you, even if it is the wildest idea that comes to you, do not eliminate it. You must put it down, note it down on a post-it note. And suppose you are asked to make a presentation a month from now, in the next 30 days, a whole lot of ideas would come to you, and whenever that idea comes to you, put it down on a post-it note. Now, say even if you are sitting the night before making a presentation, you have this whole lot of post-it notes where you have jotted down, scribbled the ideas that came to you. What is the next stage? The next stage is to eliminate ideas that are redundant. So, suppose suppose I am making a presentation on non-violence defines India as a nation. Suppose I am making this presentation. Now, I have just watched, it's 23rd March, 2 days from now, and I have just been watching the Bhagat Singh films which the media is inundating us with. And I remember, I see, okay, no, the non-violent leader was very intolerant towards the others who advocated violent means. Or when Bhagat Singh and his associates first threw the bomb in the assembly, what was their intention? It was not to kill anybody. It was really to attract attention. Now, I am not going to use the Bhagat Singh film. I am not going to use a Hindi film, obviously, if I am making a very serious presentation. I might, but I may not. So, what I would do is, I have this idea, but at this stage I feel, no, the kind of audience I have, they are not very friendly. They might not have seen this film. So, I immediately eliminate this idea. That is the first stage. Eliminate whatever does not belong, whatever you think does not fit in or you are not going to use. That is the first stage. The next stage is to organize your ideas. So, suppose you have 100 ideas. 100 ideas are far too many, but say you have 50 ideas and you have now eliminated 20 of them because you thought they were too wild or they were unrelated. Suppose you are talking about the history of violence in Africa. Now, what does it have to do with India? So, you say, okay, I do not want to use this. So, you have eliminated, and now you have to organize these ideas. How do you organize the ideas? The next stage would be to group together similar ideas. So, if you have ideas which are similar to one another, so say suppose you have written down violence in Franz Fanon's idea of violence, the Ghadar movement, Bhagat Singh. Okay, these are three related ideas. So, you can put them under one subheading, which is alternatives to non-violence. You could group these three ideas that came to you under one subheading. Now, at the end of it, what you have is, you should not have more than 3 to 5 ideas in a presentation, otherwise it becomes too long. 3 to 5 at the most is enough, and within the 3 to 5 ideas, key areas, you can have other sub areas, and the explanations, evidence, benefits become your sub points. The next thing is to structure your ideas. What do we mean by structuring your ideas? Do you always have to present your key ideas in a chronological order, or can you present them in a geographical order? So, or will you do it in you will start from the beginning and you will come to the end and then come back to the beginning again, or would you use a cause and effect logic to present your ideas? So, you have to think of which idea you are going, which pattern you are going to use. You are free to use any pattern so long as there is a pattern, and the pattern will be decided by your content. So, suppose you are presenting the sales figures of all India sales figures. Now, maybe a geographical distribution, like you can say, okay, figures from the north, figures from the south, figures from the east, that might be way to it. But suppose you are tracing the history of dance in India, you would use a chronological sequence. You will begin from the beginning and you bring it to the present. So, your topic will partly decide what your structure would be. From structure, we move on to preparing an outline, and I am going to show you how to prepare an outline. None of us prepare an outline. Let us look at how to prepare an outline, and how do you craft an outline. First of all, you need to identify your topic. What is your topic? Figure out your main points. arrange your main points. But don't forget brainstorming. I told you that first you have to capture your ideas. Now within your ideas you have to figure out what will be your main points, and the next thing is arranging your main points, creating your sub points, and then evaluate your outline. How do you evaluate the outline? How do you structure the talk? Now I have put them together. They are not very visible because I didn't know how to make them larger, but say you have three key areas here. You have key area 1, you have key area 2 and key area 3. Now within the key area 1 you have sub point 1, sub point 2, sub point 3. Within key area 2 you have sub point 1, 2, 3 and so on. And you have an introduction and conclusion. So this is the way we normally structure our talk. I'm sorry, this is an extra slide. I just return to the slide. The body of your presentation. How do you start and where do you end? I need to tell you that whenever, like when we were children, from our childhood we have been told you should have an introduction, you should have a conclusion, and then you should have a middle. But when you are making a presentation, there are two more things you need to do. In addition to your introduction, you need to have an opening. What is an opening? We will go into that in more detail later. So in addition to the introduction, you need to have an opening, and in addition to your conclusion, you must have a close. Just remember that. Now when you are structuring your talk, you need to choose a starting point. As I said, where will you start? Will you start from the beginning or will you start from the middle? You have to think of the best route. How will you run through the material? Suppose you have 5 key areas. How will you run through the material? Which area would you place at the beginning? Now here the rules of writing and speaking vary. In writing, what do? In writing, we start with the least important point and we move to the most important point. In speaking, we do the opposite. We start with the most important point. Why? Because when we are speaking, people don't have the patience to wait for you to come to your main point. You have to grab their attention. So state your most important point first and then go on to the less important points. Okay. Now what is, as I said, in an introduction, in addition to introduction, you must have an opening. What is an opening? Opening is a attention grabber, anything which will help you to grab the attention and also to strike a rapport with your audience. That is the objective of an opening. Later on, as we move through these modules, these units, we will show you how to make an effective opening. But there are what you need to do is don't leave it to the last moment that I will go there and I will make a very impressive opening, because it won't work. You will be nervous, you will be tongue tied, you won't be able to find a very effective way of breaking the ice with your audience, or you won't find an effective way of saying something interesting to capture your attention. Think of something that works for you and write out your opening right at the beginning. It could be a story, it could be a quotation, it could be an anecdote, it could be a question. The next thing is to make your thesis statement, state your objective. What is the specific purpose of your presentation? Don't state your topic. The topic is there on your topic slide. Instead of that, you state your objective. What are you going to do today? So today, like I said, today we are going to move on to more advanced communication skills such as presentation skills. That is the objective of my presentation today. State your objective clearly. And then you talk about the order in which you will go. So most of us wait for the audience to guess the order in which you are going, or don't provide any cues to the audience, but tell the audience, first I will do this, first I will show you the figures, then I will show my conclusions. So don't use a standard structuring device, but state the order. First I will provide you an overview, then I will show you the findings, and then I will give my own conclusions or my own work in this area. So, always state the order, because the audience need to know. See, visually we have cues, we have dividers, like we have sections of your report where you have bold headings to show that this is a separate section. In speaking, we don't have, because you're speaking continuously. So, you need to tell your audience that first 10 minutes I'll talk about this, next 10 minutes I'll talk about this. So, the audience after a while are waiting for you to move on to the next section. And when you're later, we'll show you when you move on to the next section, how do you use transitionals to show that now I'm moving on to the next section. And then we come to conclusion, where you put down all your summaries, review of all your main points. That's your summary statement, and your concluding statement, which is preparing a closing statement that ends your presentations smoothly. So, again, there's a difference between the conclusion and the close, because conclusion is a conclusion of your topic, but close is a way of saying goodbye or taking leave, just like an icebreaker. In a closing, the best closing is one where you arouse your audience to take action. By the end of the presentation, they are ready to do something. They are ready to buy your product, or they are ready to kill, or whatever your objective would be. Now, we talk about support materials. We will have a separate section on it, but I will quickly show you what are the support material and how do you use support material, because you need to prepare it. So, prepare the material, have clear purpose for the material, make sure the material is clear and legible. Here we are talking about visual material, such as making PowerPoint presentations, but we can also have other material, support material. Suppose you are a sculptor, or you want to show people, you want to show people things you have made, or you want them to feel how a stone looks like. So, you might distribute those. That could be your support material. It could be your handouts, it could be your survey, any support material, or your data. Whatever support material you have, it need not be only visual material, it need not be only your PowerPoint presentations. But when it comes to your PowerPoint presentations, make sure the material is clear and legible. Use layout as part of the message, use the material in the right places, and make sure that everyone can see the material. Remember, this is something people forget. Make a clear purpose for the material, because suppose you are very good at making PowerPoints, or you are very good at animations. I find a lot of people try to impress just by using visuals or by using PPTs. Yes, you like the PPT, you say your PPT was very good. You can do it, but so long as you complement with, if there is really a need for it. If there is no need for it, there is no point in impressing people with your interesting visuals. Now, there are 4 ways of giving your talks, and your preparation will go accordingly, depending on whether you are going to read, whether you are going to memorize, whether you are going to give an extempore talk, or you are going to give an impromptu talk. We will go into these later, but your materials will depend on whether you are going to write your entire presentation, are you just going to make your PPTs, or are you going to memorize the whole thing, you will have a script for yourself, or would you just have small notes, or you just walk in because you are such an experienced speaker that you do not need anything. But mind you, make sure that you have a route map, prepare a route map to your material, identify your keywords and your phrases, and prepare your notes. So, let us summarize this part of this unit, in which we talk about planning your presentation, planning effective presentations, and as I said, making a presentation is only the tip of the iceberg. The rest of it is how you plan and prepare for your presentation. So, let us sum up: research and analyze, define the purpose, know your audience, know the setting and conditions, and analyze the subject matter in the light of the above.